because he had unique skills.
Just go get the quarterback. I felt sorry for some of those poor tackles that came in and had to go against him because they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun. Son, I got to do that in this.
Lights out.
Sacking the cornerback is just like you devastate a city, or you cream a multitude of people. I mean, it's just like you put all the offensive players in one bag, and I just take a baseball bat and beat on the bag. So each time he came over there, I tried to tear his damn head off.
Let's play some football. Let's play some football.
The pressure is on. This is Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Focus on what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Think about that. Don't think about how you feel, how tired you are, how hot it is. You got to push yourself on the field like when you're playing football.
It's my honor to present the national championship trophy to Coach Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
To me, this is the ultimate team. All these guys bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently. And I'm so proud of this group for what they've been able to accomplish and going undefeated and winning the national championship.
Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tide 100.9 app. Here is your host of Off the Edge, Jacob Harrison.
Your man overthrown. Spit out the ball.
Hello there. Good morning. Welcome in to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9. It's a great day to talk football. We'll do that for the next 57 minutes here on your home for Alabama Crimson Tide Sports, available on the Tide 100.9 app, which you can find on your Apple or Android devices within your Apple Store, Google Play Store. Download that bad boy and enjoy all of our content throughout Alabama football season. Got the Eli Golds, the John Parker Wilsons, the Rashad Johnsons to help you out during game day. Kerry Clark and I will be with you for the post game 2 hours before the game. Joe Gaither and Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback Jake Barker will be with you before the game as well. Saturday morning showdown kicks it all off on Saturday at 8 a.m. A lot to get into concerning the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Miami Hurricanes. Before we get into anything too deep, I do have to tell you, Alabama Vintage, AlabamaVTG.com. That's the best place for you to get prepped for this game, for the season opener in Atlanta, Georgia. Go check them out, man, and reminisce. Almost 30 years ago was the last time Alabama and Miami played, and there is all sorts of memorabilia, all sorts of items that can help celebrate that victory almost 30 years ago in the Superdome against the Hurricanes. George Teague and so many other greats. All the memorabilia you can find there at Alabama Vintage, as well as some modern items, as well as vintage items of all kinds, whether you need shoes, hats, commemorative t-shirts, jerseys. Charlie's got it all for you. Go check them out at Alabama VTG on the Instagram account, where you can connect with the brand ambassadors for 15% off your order at AlabamaVTG.com. It's somebody's birthday today.
Happy birthday to ya.
Will Anderson.
Happy birthday.
Is 20 years old.
Happy birthday to ya.
Need some soul. Need some 90s R&B feeling to the happy birthday song. And look, first of all, just put that in perspective. That at 19 years old, that guy last year was one of the best players in the SEC. And this week, he will line up and go across from De'Aaron King and try to make his life a living hell and you know, put some pressure on the young man. the young man being 24 years old at quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes. But we'll go in deep on a deep dive about the Miami Hurricanes. We got David Lake of Inside the U, the 247 sports affiliate of the Miami Hurricanes, and we'll get his analysis. He has such great analysis over there at InsideTheU.com. And we'll welcome him onto the show to get some of his takes, some of his opinions, his thoughts on the matchups between Alabama and Miami. We're just 2 days away. And last night, Nick Saban gave his final thoughts ahead of the game in his weekly Wednesday press conference. And there we go. Yeah. Happy birthday, Will Anderson. What should we get Will Anderson for his birthday? A free pass to the quarterback? Just Zion Nelson has to take 3 plays off.
Fast pass, the Disney fast pass, but it's the backfield fast pass.
There you go. The backfield fast pass. There we go. I don't think he needs one, to be honest. he's kind of got that covered.
Order a sack on the Chick-fil-A app.
Right, yeah. maybe a pick six. Maybe something that's new. Something that's new. A pick six against the Hurricanes. That's what we should get.
A little De'Aaron King gift.
Yeah, we'll give from De'Aaron King to the best player on the defensive side of the ball in the SEC. I like it. Let's hear what Nick Saban had to say in his opening comments last night as we prepare to see the Alabama Crimson Tide open up the season against the Miami Hurricanes in just 2 days in Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, we're obviously looking forward to the first game. I'm sure the players are very much excited about having a game to play, trying to create an identity as a team, create value for themselves individually for how they compete, how they play. I think the big thing, which I've said before in first games, is you got to be able to play the next play. Sometimes unexpected things happen in first games, things that you weren't prepared for. So I think it's really important that everybody can keep the right mindset. I also think that, from this time on, mental focus, mental practice, mental preparation is really a big part of eliminating errors in a game. We can't practice that much more on the field. But we can practice a lot mentally, and I think that can have a huge impact on, how we can play and how we get off to what we hope is a very good start against a very good Miami team. So, we always look forward to playing in Atlanta. It's a great venue, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. People in Atlanta have always been great. Gary Stoken and that group has always been really great for us and treated us very well. So we're really looking forward to the opportunity.
That's Nick Saban. And listen, there's a lot to look forward to. There's plenty to look forward to. This is a better matchup than I think a lot of people kind of give it credit for. And I know that when it comes to Alabama, and Gary was kind of just talking about it, the odds are always in their favor. The odds are absolutely always in their favor. And it's difficult as an Alabama fan or even as an Alabama analyst to look at this team and say, yeah, no, definitely. You totally have a shot against Alabama. But at the same time, Miami does have a lot of pieces. There's a lot to be said about a guy entering his 6th year as a college football quarterback and being a very good athlete and being a guy who knows how to take care of the ball. And that's something that we'll dive into with David Lake here in just a bit, in about 5 minutes. But I still pose the question, and we'll ask David this: who's gonna help De'Aaron King? You look around and it's so difficult. Like, yes, this offensive line's pretty good, but it's still going up against the best front seven in all of college football. So pretty good is going to have to become elite, within 2 days, if it hasn't already. Otherwise, it's still going to be a mismatch, and that's going to make things very difficult on De'Aaron King. And the reason I keep asking about, what's De'Aaron King going to bring is because I still, I want to see a good football game. Like, I'm okay if Alabama wins by 30, but I also really want to see a good football game. Watching UAB and Jacksonville State last night, didn't anticipate it being too close of a game. I also didn't think it was going to be a shutout. So here we are. We still haven't really gotten a good football game yet. And tonight with Tennessee taking on whatever School for the Blind that they're playing, it's still a process of just waiting. We need good content in college football, and hopefully Miami is going to be able to present that. I don't know about you, but when I'm on top, I want to be challenged. I want somebody to come and challenge my spot and rightfully make a play for it, and make an effort for it, not just lie down. And I don't think the Hurricanes will lie down. It's just a matter of, do they have somebody that can step up and help De'Aaron King in this ball game? And I'm not so sure that they do. You look at Charleston Rambo, a guy who's got almost 80 catches, almost 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns in 3 years at Oklahoma, kind of steps in and is immediately the first option in the passing game. But is that enough? I know that there's other experienced players at wide receiver. There's other experienced players at running back. But it's still a big question mark as to how well that team can compete with Alabama. And then on the other side, you can look at Alabama and say, you're missing 8 starters out there, guys. And you've had injuries at right tackle, which is one of your biggest question marks. Your top flight tight ends, third on the depth chart. Who's going to really carry the load at running back? Oh, by the way, your quarterback is 6 foot tall. All those sorts of things, like, they're understandable. But when you kind of look at the trends of what Alabama's been over the past 10, 11 years, you're kind of able to put those to rest a little bit as an Alabama fan, but it also comes with an air of caution. Because at some point, it's got to dip, right? I don't think it'll be this week. I don't think it'll be this Saturday, but you certainly, it might creep in the back of some people's minds. And I'm here to say, I don't think that's the case moving forward into the 2021 season. But don't be surprised if Miami keeps it a little bit closer than maybe you anticipate, because it is a good football team. They're ranked 14th in the country for a reason. We'll head to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk with David Lake of Inside the U of 247 Sports. Next, here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
The Labor Day events here at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com. Shop 40 to 70% off almost everything. Plus, tanks from $5, shorts from $10, and jeans from $20 through September 7th at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com.
Touchdown! Alabama wins!
The Alabama football countdown clock is driven by Crawford Insurance, Tuscaloosa's low-cost auto insurer. Call 752-6489 for a free quote today.
Well done! Well done!
There are 2 days until Alabama football.
Dominate!
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Dive into fall with everything to power your big ideas during Dell's Labor Day event. Save up to $300 on select Dell XPS and Alienware systems powered by Intel Core processors. Save on top accessories like Dell monitors, docks, and other popular tech essentials. Limited quantity deals go live each weekday through September 8th with free shipping on everything. Call 800-BY-DELL for Labor Day event savings. That's 800-BY-DELL.
Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle Extrava Festa Save-A-Thon, the annual year-long event for saving big on home and auto insurance. These savings are available up until and straight through Labor Day, Halloween, Clover Cleveland's birthday, Taco Tuesday, the anniversary of the moon landing, White Chocolate Day. The sale literally never ends. You can come on Jupiter's Ascension, National Pisces Day, but not Leap Day. Just kidding. We're doing Leap Day because every day is perfect for saving money with a home and auto bundle only at Progressive. But for real, we're not doing White Chocolate Day because white chocolate is gross. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A beautiful afternoon. Lots of sunshine today. Not as humid as recent days. Tuscaloosa's high 87. Very pleasant tonight. Clear with the low at 62. And the sky will stay mostly sunny tomorrow and Saturday with highs between 87 and 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Follow Off the Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for live streams and instant analysis. Off the Edge with Jacob Harrison continues.
We are back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Jacob Harrison here with you. Joe Gaither, the Iron Man behind the board. We got Tyler Maines in turning as well. We're going to go out to the phone lines and welcome in Miami Hurricanes analyst for Inside the U of 247 Sports. Some incredible in-depth analysis over there. If you want to get to know your enemy, that's probably the best place to go is InsideTheU.com. David, man, welcome into the show. How are you doing this morning?
Doing well, Jacob. Excited for the start of the season. Can't wait.
Absolutely, and what a game to kick things off for between these two historic programs who haven't played in almost 30 years since a national championship in the Sugar Bowl. But let's start with the guy who wears number 1 for the Miami Hurricanes. He's arguably, almost without a doubt, the best player on the football team and the most important as well. But what type of performance does D'Eriq King need to have to beat Alabama, to stand toe-to-toe with the juggernaut?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that he's going to have some success on the ground as a runner, right? Whatever that means, whether that's pulling the ball on zone reads or designed runs or scrambling, picking up yards in that regard. All indications from the month of preseason practices is that his surgically repaired knee is holding up just fine. But doing it in a game is a different hurdle that he needs to clear. He's obviously not been tackled to the ground here in this previous month of August. That's definitely going to change here on Saturday. So I would imagine, of course, Alabama would prefer to play a one-dimensional quarterback. And so while I do think Miami, of course, they don't want him to take a bunch of hits, they still recognize that he does need to be somewhat of a dual threat in this game.
And protecting the football is something that you kind of highlighted this morning on Inside the U. When you kind of look back and analyze the quarterbacks that have had success against Alabama in the past, it's been these dual threat quarterbacks. And that's something I hear from a lot of fans is, well, King's been playing a long time. He's smart with the ball. He's a good quarterback, but he's just as dangerous on the ground. What kind of qualities out of King do you see that kind of relate to the Johnny Manziels, the Trevor Lawrences, the Deshaun Watsons, who have had success against Alabama's defenses in the past, even with Alabama having a better defense than maybe some of those teams faced?
Right, and I'll say this on the front end, right? Like, doing it against Alabama is easier said than done, right? It's easy to just say, oh, dual threat quarterbacks have success. Well, there's also a ton of dual threat quarterbacks that don't have a ton of success. And I would say probably more so the case, right? But yeah, certainly D'Eriq King. I think going into last season, there was a question mark in terms of how good of a passer is this guy really, making the jump from Group of 5 to Power 5. And he proved to be very, very good college level quarterback as a passer. I don't think he's an NFL guy at all in terms of the quarterback position, but he can definitely make all the throws necessary. And then, as an athlete, he's as dynamic as you get. When he was a freshman at Houston, he returned a kickoff 99 yards for a touchdown as a true freshman. And, I don't know if you'll find a quarterback playing this year that has that in his past. So certainly he is a very dynamic, very, very talented dual threat college quarterback.
And not to mention, on top of the kickoff return, 60 receptions and 3 touchdowns as a receiver as well.
Right.
He's incredibly versatile and knows how to get the job done and just be a playmaker. That said, he's going to need some help out there against this Alabama defense, which is, all bias aside on my part, it's just so deep and so talented. But another spot for Miami that kind of combats that is this Miami offensive line, which carries 190 starts between them, a college football record. And they actually outweigh the Alabama offensive line, as you described on Inside the U. But talk about Zion Nelson and that offensive line and how they're going to have to combat this Alabama defense that carries Will Anderson, who just turned 20 years old today, Chris Allen, and 9 deep on the interior defensive line.
Yeah, I do think, Miami's offensive line will be a strength by Miami standards in terms of, going through this season and comparing to what we've seen in recent years from Miami, where the offensive line has been a weakness. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case this year, but could they be a weakness against Alabama? I could certainly still see that, right? Like doing it against Alabama is a whole different deal than doing it against the majority of the ACC. So you mentioned Zion Nelson. You know, he's been banged up some here in preseason practices. All indications, according to Manny Diaz, is that he's healthy. He's going to be a full go. He's the left tackle. He's the guy that's going to have to deal with Will Anderson. Zion's getting some first round buzz here. I need to see that before I believe it to this point. But certainly he could be on a first round type of player trajectory. And if he somewhat handles business against Will Anderson, like I do expect Will Anderson to win the day. But can Zion Nelson have his stalemate every now and then and allow D'Eriq King to operate? To me, that would be a victory. And then the other positions on the offensive line where Miami is different this year than last year is at guard. They're just much bigger, much more athletic at both guard spots. They go about 6'5", 330 at both guard spots. And the hope there is that they will get more interior push in the run game than we've seen here in recent years. So I'm excited to see how they do play against a defensive front like Alabama. But certainly I would go into this game giving Alabama's front the edge there.
Yeah, you're not going to get any argument out of me. Will Anderson and Chris Allen form a dangerous duo, and Alabama gets LeBron Ray back. He's healthy, so he'll be in the rotation as well. So a lot of dynamic figures inside there. Looking outside, though, with D'Eriq King and his weapons, kind of a little bit of a question mark there as to who's going to be the guy that can step up and make an impact. There's a lot of names here, a lot of experience,
right.
Wide receiver, running back, and tight end. But who's going to be that guy or guys that can help D'Eriq King put some pressure into this Alabama defense on Saturday?
That's a big question mark. Miami does return all their receivers from last year, but their starters this year are going to be two new guys. You got Charleston Rambo, the transfer from Oklahoma, and on the other side, on the outside, you have Keyshawn Smith, who's a second-year freshman. He's kind of more of a burner, more of a vertical guy. So last year, looking back to that Clemson game when Miami got handled by number one Clemson, one of the issues in that game was that Miami's wide receivers on the outside couldn't get off press coverage. They also couldn't make contested catches when those opportunities came their way. So that's kind of a key for Miami going into this game. Can these new outside receivers do a better job of that? If the answer is no, it's going to be a long day for Miami because I would fully expect Alabama to load the box, totally take away the run game, and make D'Eriq King and those receivers try and win on the outside. So we'll see if they can do it.
Talk a little bit more about Charleston Rambo. I mean, he does come in with a lot of experience, but he's that guy that's going to have to mix up with Josh Jobe for the most part, who's filling in, trying to be the heir apparent for Patrick Surtain as Alabama's shutdown corner. What kind of skill set does Rambo bring to the field that can kind of match up with Jobe and help D'Eriq King on the outside?
Yeah, to me, he's the guy on the outside that has to win with route running separation. I don't know, like him against Josh Jobe, right? I don't know if he's going to win 50-50 balls against Josh Jobe. Josh Jobe's just bigger and stronger. I would expect him to win those type of balls. But can Rambo create separation with his speed on the outside? Can he get behind the defense every now and then? To me, that's what he needs to do. There's people around the program too who will tell you Keyshawn Smith, the other guy on the outside, is the most talented wide receiver on the team. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, and will that talent turn into production this year? That's another question. But yeah, I would expect, I think if Miami does hit on some deep plays, quite frankly, in the passing game, I think it'll be from Keyshawn Smith.
Talking to David Lake, a Miami Hurricanes analyst for 247 Sports inside the U. David, let's switch to the defensive side of the ball for Miami. from the limited action we've seen from Bryce Young, when he has been put under pressure, that's when he struggled the most. Now, I mean, we're talking about a guy who has less than 100 passing attempts, and some of those were very early in the season. But that being said, that's been a strength for Miami for quite a while now, even with getting Gregory Rousseau and Jalen Phillips. I know Rousseau didn't play last year, but it's kind of been a strength for the Hurricanes over the past several seasons. What does that pass rush look like this year going up against Alabama's offensive line, which has had to move a lot of pieces, has some question marks at right tackle as well? What's the pass rush going to be like for Bryce Young on Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be more of a by committee approach than what we saw from Miami last year. Last year, they really heavily depended on Jalen Phillips and Quincy Roche playing 85, 90% of the snaps at defensive end in the games there. This year, I think it's going to be more of a 50-50 split on the two deep. And I'll say this, the talent level is not like the starters aren't as great as it was last year, but the depth is better. And they are going to try and come at Alabama with waves. And, this Manny Diaz system in general is built around the edge rush position. And whoever they have put in those roles during this Manny Diaz era, dating back to 2016, they produce sacks. So it's kind of a plug and play situation at defensive end. Are there total stars and game wreckers there? I don't know about that, but I do think there's going to be some guys there that produce at defensive end. And defensive tackle, quite frankly, I think is one of the strengths of this defense. Nesta Silvera, very disruptive guy, 3 technique. Jared Harrison Hunt, there's people inside the program that feel like he has star potential because of his athleticism on the inside, even though he is a smaller or thinner guy, I guess I should say, at 285 pounds, but very athletic guy. So they're excited about the overall depth of this defensive line, but is there star power? At this point, it's probably no.
Looking at linebacker, a few weeks ago, your colleague Christopher Stock joined one of ours as well with Ryan Fowler on the game and talked about the linebackers for Miami and how that's really a point of weakness and a point of concerns. I saw when you guys handed out grades on Inside the U, they were far and away the lowest grade, not only for starters but also for depth. How does Manny Diaz kind of overcome that in this ball game where Alabama, sure their best tight end is third on the depth chart, but he'll still be in the ball game, and plus the 4 running backs that know what they're doing. How does Diaz kind of overcome the situation at linebacker?
I don't know, quite frankly. I mean, to me, that's the biggest question mark for Miami going into this game. Can they stop the run? If I'm Alabama, I try and make Miami show me that you can stop this rushing attack. And I don't know if Miami does have answers, quite frankly. It was a big issue last year when Miami faced any offense with a talented running back. Now, I will say the personnel is different this year. They've gone younger. Manny Diaz will tell you the linebacker level is much faster this year. So we'll see if that speed of play does help contain things better than what we saw last year. But there's no doubt in terms of body types and just pure talent, linebacker is the weakness of the team. In terms of covering the tight end, they do have a dedicated hybrid type position, the striker position, which is, it's essentially guys they've recruited that were safeties and corners. So they feel good about the coverage with that position. Now, Jaleel Billingsley is definitely an issue, no doubt. But I think they feel okay about the coverage ability. I just don't know. I don't know if they have answers in terms of run defense.
Well, no doubt about it. You kind of look at the trends for Bill O'Brien in his pro career. If he had more question marks at quarterback, then he threw the ball more often than he ran it. So I kind of have this anticipation that even with Bryce Young being an unproven starter, even though he's got all the accolades in the world and the ability to back it up, I anticipate him to just kind of throw the ball a little bit more. And with that in mind, Bubba Bolden being one of the best players on the Hurricanes defense and that secondary kind of helping out on the back end, what kind of game plan do you expect out of Miami on their defensive backfield?
Yeah, I think there is kind of an expectation that Alabama is going to be RPO heavy. And when you are facing an RPO heavy offense, the move kind of is to go man coverage. I think Miami feels good. I don't know if they feel great about their man coverage in the secondary. It's a bunch of, for the most part, bigger physical guys. So they'll try and be physical at the line of scrimmage with their press coverage. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's a solid group. It's a group, like if you look at last year, that one area where they do need to improve, they got to be much better with their playmaking ability. Not many interceptions for the secondary last year. And so that's kind of been a key point of emphasis here during preseason practices and during the scrimmages. And from what I've heard, they have taken strides in that regard. But doing it in a game is definitely different level.
Yeah, and protecting the ball and getting turnovers, two of the big keys to beating Alabama. You look back to their last loss, 2 pick sixes is what did them in, even though they were able to keep score with the Auburn Tigers. But now that we've kind of went position group by position group, David, just your final expectations for this game, and what you kind of hope to see out of your Hurricanes, and what the Alabama Crimson Tide brings in. If you want to give a score prediction, that's up to you as well. But just your expectations for what we'll see on Saturday inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
So I think we will know kind of how this game's going to unfold, quite frankly, from the first quarter. Miami's struggled to start fast in a lot of these big-time games here in recent years. I think part of that is because, they get overwhelmed by the other team's pure talent, and Alabama certainly can fit that category. So I'm curious to see what the game looks like after the first quarter, right? And I think Alabama's going to win. I think my prediction as of right now, I feel like it's going to be like a 31-20-ish type game. That might be optimistic from a Miami standpoint, because I could certainly see a scenario where if Alabama is able to get their passing game going, I think the game gets pretty ugly in terms of downfield explosive plays in the passing game. But Miami's going to try their best to load the box, stop the run, and force Bryce Young to beat them in his first collegiate start. I just don't know. Basically, where I stand, I think Alabama can show up, play their B- game, and still get out of there with a win. So I'm going to go 31-20. And from a Miami perspective, I hope the game's somewhat competitive.
Hey, just from a football fan perspective, I was saying it in the first segment, I want a good game as well. I hope that De'Aaron King comes out there and he puts something together, and we see something exciting. And we call it joyless murder ball here at Alabama when the score gets out of hand. I'm not the biggest fan of that. So hopefully we do get a good game in Atlanta. David Lake, Inside the U247 Sports. Go check out all of his great analysis there to preview the opposition this Saturday in Atlanta, Georgia. David, man, I really appreciate your analysis and appreciate your time, buddy. I hope you have a great weekend, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Jacob. It was fun.
Absolutely. David Lake helping us out. He said Alabama could bring their B- effort and still beat Miami. Wow. That's a lot to take in. That is a lot to take in, because you look at some of these neutral site games, Alabama, they either blow you out of the water, or these teams that have a little bit of gumption to them, like a Miami, like a Wisconsin, like a Virginia Tech, one of the two times, they're able to hang in there a little bit. They're able to put up a fight. They still lose, but they're able to put up a fight. B- effort, David Lake says. Alabama would still win the ball game. Nick Saban would call that rat poison. We'll take a break, come back, continue the discussion. 205-342-9904. If you want to join the show, lend your predictions, your thoughts on this upcoming game between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Miami Hurricanes. That and so much more here off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
Creamy nut butter makes it delightfully sweet. Roasted nuts make it perfectly salty. Get two great tastes in one delicious bar. Enjoy a Nature Valley sweet and salty nut bar today.
Walk-On athletes put everything they've got into the game.
Walk-On Sports Bistro puts everything we've got into bringing you game day with a taste of Louisiana.
Over 70 big screen TVs.
Mouth-watering Louisiana cuisine. Po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, plus fan favorites like juicy burgers and fresh salads.
Made from scratch with ingredients you can't help but crave.
Now open in Tuscaloosa, 6785 Skyland Boulevard.
Walkons.com.
Walk-On Sports Bistro, more than a restaurant.
We know it's lonely at the top, but we don't mind.
National championship number 18. 13 in all. Absolute perfection.
Roll Tide. Join us Saturday as the Crimson Tide brave the storm against the Miami Hurricanes in the season opener. Our coverage begins at 11:30 on your home for Bama football.
At Target, we know there are a lot of firsts when it comes to going back to school. First impressions, first chapters, first day photos. So with easy and safe ways to shop like order pickup, drive up, and school list assist, make Target your first stop back to school.
Has the pandemic affected your business? Even with more and more customers going online in the past 5 years, online business has grown greatly due to the pandemic. Now more than ever, it's important to have a strong online presence so that customers can find your business and products easily. That's where Townsquare comes in to help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis to see how your business stands up to the competition. And if you're one of the first to sign up, you'll get $500 in free advertising on this radio station. That's mylocalcustomers.com. Townsquare not only can help you find more local customers online, they'll also help you grow your business to a new level. With premium website services that get you new leads every day and no contracts to sign, there's no better time to join. Not only that, Townsquare also has a dedicated marketing specialist who will be with you every step of the way, making changes that will benefit you and especially your business. It's fast, easy, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. So hurry to mylocalcustomers.com and get your $500 in free advertising today.
We aren't going anywhere. Off the Edge is available in the podcast center on Tide100.9.com.
Song hit me like a hurricane there, Tyler. It's all good. We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9. Your home for Alabama Crimson Tide Sports, 205-342-9904. If you want to join the conversation, more than welcome to in the next 20 minutes. Just got done talking with David Lake of Inside the U 247 Sports. And David said, in the final question that I asked him, how he expects the game to go down, that Alabama could bring their B- effort and still win the ball game in a relatively comfortable fashion at that. And this is the number 14 team in the country coming out of South Beach. This is a good football team. This is a team that has one of the best quarterbacks in the country, has one of the most experienced offensive lines, has great wide receivers and experience there as well. 3 deep at running back of guys who can get it done in different ways. The problem is the defense. The linebacking core being what it is. The interior defensive line, he said, was a big strength. But interior defensive linemen don't make plays 20 yards downfield. They don't make plays 10 yards downfield either. And a rotation at the edge rushing position. Playing man coverage on the outside. Do they have somebody fast enough to stand up with Jamison Williams down the field? Let's go to the Nick Saban audio on what he thought stood out about Miami's defense. Because from what it sounded like from David, outside of that interior defensive line, didn't sound like there was too much to be concerned about on that side. And hey, if you're Alabama with 8 new starters on the offense, especially at quarterback, that's kind of what you want, right? That's what you want, is to face a defense that has talent, but maybe hasn't put it all together, even though Manny Diaz is a defensive guy. A lot to look at there. Let's see what Nick Saban had to say about Miami's defense.
Yeah, they're very aggressive, in the way they play. A lot of corner cats. They play a lot of clamp coverage. Not that I expect anybody to know what that is, but their corners can be very aggressive, and they play very aggressive in the back end. They play man-to-man, they're very aggressive in their style on defense. And I think, that's contributed to their success in the past, and we're going to have to do a good job of executing against some of the pressure things that they do, so that, we eliminate negative plays, which is what they're trying to create.
Man, I tried to do it. I tried to Google clamp coverage in less than a minute and a half and couldn't find it. But as I'm just trying to be silly, but as David said, they're going to play a lot of man coverage, are the Hurricanes, and they're going to lean on these defensive backs. And I will say, talking about their aggression, spot on. You go back and watch their spring game. I don't recommend watching too much of it. A lot of the stars are injured and don't play in the game. I could only take about a quarter of that before I was like, I'm not learning anything. Nobody's out here. Their defensive backs, they hit hard. They really, really do. They try. They play an old school brand of football where they separate receiver from ball, and they do it with some consistency, man. They were out there hitting their own guys like that. I mean, they're going to take their opportunity against the John Mechie, against the JoJo Earl, against the Slade Bolden. I mean, they want that. They want that contact. Think about how Jordan Battle plays for the Crimson Tide. That's kind of the mentality that these Hurricane safeties bring. And Bubba Bolden's one of the better ones, man. Bubba Bolden is a good safety, and I anticipate he's going to have to make up for a lot of the deficiencies at linebacker, going to have to make up for a lot of deficiencies in a lot of areas there in that middle of the field for the Hurricanes. And that really kind of, it's worrisome for a defense to have to rely on one guy like that, especially when that one guy isn't like a Troy Polamalu out there. Like, he's just a good football player, a really good football player. I don't know if Bubba Bolden's going to have that kind of talent in him to be able to lock down everything that comes over the middle and try to make up for what's going on in this linebacking core for Miami to try to make it a good game. Like, I'm not looking for Miami, like, for reasons for Miami to win, and I'm not trying to be negative. Sounds like that. I just want to see a good game, and also look at the fact that if they're really this deficient at linebacker, that it doesn't matter like what Alabama decides to do, whether they attack the middle of the field passing or if they attack the middle of the field running the ball with guys like Brian Robinson and Trey Sanders, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams. I mean, and you look on the interior of the offensive line for Alabama, Ekiyor is one of the best guards in all of football. Chris Owens is a great player, but even if he is beat out at center and moves to right tackle, which is not the expectation here, then Dalcourt's just as serviceable in that spot too. He's a nasty guy too. So you're still talking about great football players in the middle of Alabama's offense. And I don't care how long Jaleel Billingsley's, doghouse rental, is his living situation. He's going to be on the field, right? And Cameron Latu is no scrub either. Cameron Latu is a great tight end too. So he's going to make his bread too. I don't see how the Hurricanes can really combat any of this. Let's go to the hotline. James, what's going on, James?
Hey, what up, Jacob? How are you? Great show, brother.
Doing pretty good, man. What's going on?
Hey, so here's the thing about the, and you said something earlier that kind of struck me. De'Aaron King is unproven to me. And I say unproven because when you come off a very serious ACL and meniscus injury, it's very difficult to know what you're going to get. Now, are we going to get a De'Aaron King who is mobile and accurate and things like that? I think we'll see that. And he claims to be 100% even. But I'm interested to see that matchup versus a very fast Alabama defense. It's so weird because the offense for Miami, as you pointed out very rightly, is good, and they're going to play a better defense. The Miami defense is not as good, but they're going to play a pretty solid offense. So it's really weird how this game is kind of structured as a whole. But I really think that if De'Aaron King is 100%, and I'm not saying Miami's going to beat Alabama because that's not going to happen, but I will say I think with the play of De'Aaron King, it could make things interesting. And I think that to me is what is going to stand out about this game. But I honestly believe that we're not going to see the real Alabama Crimson Tide until that game against A&M. I just feel like the opponents on this schedule are all, for the first part of this schedule, are very easy. I know that's rat poison, but I mean, it's just there's not a test until Texas A&M on this schedule. So we'll see bits and pieces of the Crimson Tide, but I don't think we're going to see this team full out for what it is until they play Texas A&M on the road, and that's just where I stand. But anyway, great analysis as always, buddy, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely, James. I appreciate it, dude. I mean, I'm going to believe that De'Aaron King is... He's not projecting anything, right? He's not fabricating the level of health that he's at. He's not, and I'm not saying that's what James was implying, but if he says he's 100%, I think he's 100%. And if he's displaying the kind of confidence that he is, and he's out there practicing, and there's no concerns out of Miami analysts, then I'm going to feel pretty okay that he's at 100%. And I think De'Aaron King's going to make plays. Even with the speed at linebacker for Alabama with Henry To'oto, Christian Harris, I've stood on this for weeks now. King's going to have at least 3 carries over 20 yards. The problem is that he just doesn't have any help out there to get into the end zone, to make a dent in the scoreboard. And that's where it matters. I don't care how many yards he gets. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. If he had 100 rushing yards, he's lost games where he's been a better rusher than he has been a passer. What De'Aaron King has to do to make this a close game is protect the football and make plays that result in scores. And I know that sounds so incredibly obvious, but I mean, you go as, you find the smartest football coaches, and that's what they're going to say is protect the football, make plays that result in points, because there's no other way to really attack it when you're facing a team like Alabama that is either so talented that it's difficult to overcome, or so disciplined that it's difficult to overcome. And if you have to face a unit on either side of the ball that is both, which I believe this 2021 defense is, you're going to have a hell of a day. De'Aaron King's going to play good no matter what. I strongly believe that. I just don't think he has any help. But looking on that other side of the ball, that's where the real game is. Because of all the unproven commodities on Miami's defense, all the unproven commodities on Alabama's offense, I think that's the whole ball game right there. And all Alabama's got to do offensively is do what they've always done, which is average somewhere around 35 points per game, because Miami's not getting to 35. Alabama gets to 35, and this ball game is done and done. But if you hang around that 20 mark, which is not common in today's football, not common for Alabama whatsoever, I think that's when you kind of fall into something that could be potentially dangerous. We'll take a break, come back, and set up for the final segment on this Thursday. Just a reminder, by the way, tomorrow, the first Friday of September, we'll be giving away an Alabama Vintage gift card for $25. If you can guess who the vintage player of the month is tomorrow, you will be put in a hat, and we'll draw out and decide a winner for a $25 gift card to Alabama Vintage. Go check them out, alabamavtg.com, at alabamavtg on the Instagram account. We'll be back for more here on Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-777-1225. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
Start fall with everything to do business better during Dell Technologies Labor Day event. Save up to 45% on select business PCs with Windows 10 Pro. Power your workday with savings on Dell servers, monitors, docks, and other accessories, plus free shipping on everything. Do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor who can help you find the right tech. That's 877-ASK-DELL for business specials during Dell's Labor Day event.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A beautiful afternoon. Lots of sunshine today. Not as humid as recent days. Tuscaloosa's high 87. Very pleasant tonight. Clear with the low at 62. And the sky will stay mostly sunny tomorrow and Saturday with highs between 87 and 90. I'm James Spain on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Good one, Tyler. Good one. That's the way to close out a Thursday. Let's jump out to the hotline. Welcome in, JR. JR, I got about 3 minutes, man. What's up?
All right, good, buddy. I wanted to ask you about what you felt like the trenches matched up like. I mean, Alabama's defense against the O-line of Miami. I feel like therein lies the ball game right there.
I agree. If you're not just looking at Alabama's offense and Miami's defenses and the question marks there, the fact that the proven commodities are in the trenches on the other side of the ball game between Miami's offensive line and Alabama's defensive line, that is quite a matchup. And I'm very excited to see how Will Anderson and Chris Allen look against Zion Nelson. I will say I've kind of been saying it all week is you can have 190 starts between your offensive linemen and break a college football record, but that doesn't mean they're all good. That doesn't mean they're all great. That doesn't mean they're all elite. And that's kind of the situation for Miami, because you can go to the other highest in coming into this season. It's all a bunch of group of 5 teams, and they're not good offensive lines. But that being said, Zion Nelson is a piece, knows what he's doing. David Lake talked about the guards, how big they are and how they'll compete. But I will say, I mean, I don't think I even have to be biased to say that these edge rushers are the best edge rushers that Miami's going to see all season, regardless who they play or where else they play. Clemson doesn't have anything like this. North Carolina doesn't have anything like this. Florida State, and then whoever they meet in the postseason, because it's not likely they make the playoffs, That's not going to be the case either. And what other defensive line in the country, just their interior defensive line, has 9 guys that can go? That makes it difficult. I mean, because offensive linemen don't sub out. And those defensive linemen, they're going to be fresh. And they're going to be headhunting the whole game.
Yeah, we got a lot of backups. All right. Appreciate you very much, Jacob.
Absolutely, JR. Take it easy, man. 2 days away. 2 days away. And Alabama's only got to bring a B- effort. Let me tell you what they're not going to do. They ain't bringing no B- effort. They bring in the A, the script A. Script A plus. Alabama by 80 at this point after that comment. We'll have some fun tomorrow. We'll give away the Alabama Vintage gift card for $25. I'll give my final score predictions and so much more tomorrow. Until then, the Jay Barker Show is up next. Ryan Fowler takes you home 2 to 6. I'll be back with you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Download the Tide 100.9 app so you can take the Crimson Tide with you all day Saturday from 8 until likely 9 o'clock at night, man. We're going to have a blast this coming Saturday. Join us. Jay Barker Show is up next. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Thank you for listening to Off the Edge.
Can't tell you how proud I am of our players, our team.
Join us every Monday from 8 to 10 and Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Tide 100.9.